9 habits that are ruining men. Stop doing these ASAP.
What habits might be secretly holding men back from living their best lives? There are certain toxic patterns that have become far too commonplace in society today, sapping men of their true potential. In this video, I want to shine a light on 9 of the most damaging habits that are ruining men worldwide. My goal is to raise awareness on unhealthy behaviors that have been normalized, so that men can reclaim their power and start making positive changes. The habits we will be exploring relate to chasing validation, avoiding responsibility, giving into fear, and more. While undoing these toxic habits will take discipline and perseverance, the personal growth that results will be worth it. Are you ready to break free of what's holding you down and step into your greatest self? Let's get started.
Seeking external validation habit that is ruining men.
We live in a culture obsessed with likes, follows, clout, and fleeting online fame. For many men today, self-worth is contingent on external validation from others. This toxic need for approval and praise from outside sources leads to a host of damaging mindsets and behaviors. Chasing validation is like building your house on someone else's land. You are forever at the mercy of their opinion. When a man's sense of confidence and self-esteem relies heavily on receiving validation from others, he becomes easily shaken by criticism or lack of attention. Every like, compliment, and acknowledgement feels like a drug hit, while disapproval cuts deep. Since we can't control other people's opinions or actions, trying to extract validation from them is a recipe for anxiety and esteem issues. Take the example of a young, aspiring musician named John. He posts his songs online thirsty for likes and praise. But when a few people mock his voice in the comments, he deletes the song and vows to never share his art publicly again. John's confidence was shattered because he depended solely on external validation. How can men break free from validation addiction? The key is to build your core sense of worth from within. Take pride in your values, talents, and accomplishments for their own sake. Be less concerned with collecting praise and more focused on contributing value to the world. When validation comes from doing meaningful work, it feels natural rather than desperate.
Habit of avoiding responsibility that is ruining men.
Another ruinous habit plaguing men is dodging accountability and refusing to take responsibility for their actions or situation. It's easy to play the blame game, but this victim mentality disempowers you. You cannot change what you do not first acknowledge. When men get into the habit of blaming women, society, their circumstances, or bad luck for their dissatisfaction in life, they fail to see their own role. However, adopting a victim mindset causes you to feel helpless since you view life as happening to you rather than you happening to life. A 25-year-old waiter was fired for constantly showing up late. Rather than owning this and improving his punctuality, he raged that the manager had it out for him, when in reality, his chronic tardiness led to his termination. How can men embrace responsibility? Begin noticing areas where you may be blaming external factors rather than acknowledging your contributions. Even if certain circumstances or other people did play a role, look inward first. Taking ownership of your life and choices puts you in the driver's seat. When you view yourself as the author of your story, rather than just a passive character, you gain the power to effect positive change.
Giving into fear habit that is ruining men.
Fear can be healthy when it keeps us safe from genuine danger. But for many men today, exaggerated or irrational fears hold them back from fulfilling their potential. Fear of failure, rejection, the unknown, and more feeds stagnation rather than fueling courageous action. Fear is the prison that keeps many men from meeting the person they could become. A boyfriend was terrified to propose to his girlfriend of 5 years out of fear she would say no, or they'd eventually divorce. His phobia of rejection and abandonment became a self-fulfilling prophecy as his girlfriend left him for not progressing the relationship. How can men overcome needless fear? One method is facing what you dread in small, controlled doses to prove you can handle it. For example, someone afraid of public speaking could volunteer to give a short toast at a friend's wedding. Begin from a place of self-compassion rather than harsh judgment when confronting fear. Celebrate small acts of courage, and remember that bravery isn't the absence of fear, but moving forward in spite of it.
Instant gratification addiction habit that is ruining men.
In today's on-demand culture, many men lack patience and have an unhealthy need for instant gratification. We've grown accustomed to getting what we want when we want, be it food delivery, streaming entertainment, porn, social media likes, or casual sex. What is gained quickly is often lost quickly. What takes time to grow and nurture endures. This impatience prevents men from learning to delay pleasure for a greater long-term payoff. Instant gratification addiction feeds impulsiveness and short-sightedness. It can also lead to painful consequences like compulsive gambling, substance abuse, overeating, and credit card debt from excessive shopping for quick dopamine hits. A boyfriend got into frequent arguments with his girlfriend because he grew irritable when she was busy and couldn't immediately respond to his texts or spend time with him. His need for instant access to her attention damaged the relationship. How can men overcome this habit? By consciously developing their capacity to experience discomfort in the short term for the sake of a future benefit. For example, saving money rather than overspending, or sticking to a diet and exercise plan rather than binge eating junk food and watching TV. Start small by giving up a minor habit like fast food for a week. Build up your willpower muscle over time.
Lack of purpose habit that is ruining men.
It's easy in today's noisy world to simply drift through life without a clear direction or purpose. Too many men lack vision, passion, and self-knowledge of their highest potentials. Instead, they stumble along haphazardly, shaped largely by societal conditioning and the agendas of others. A rudderless ship will be tossed aimlessly by any passing current. A man without purpose will be swept along others' paths. When men lack a clear sense of core mission and meaning, they become defined by their current circumstances rather than their deepest values. Everyday life loses its technicolor when it's divorced from purpose. This breeds complacency, restlessness, and existential crises. A 33-year-old bartender had no idea what he was put on earth to do. Lacking drive and life direction made him depressed, so he drank excessively. He knew he had talents to offer, but with no clue what they were, they remained unused. How can men find purpose? By exploring their unique interests, strengths, and dreams. Tap into childhood passions that may have gotten buried under society's expectations. Identify core values to guide decision-making. Seek out work and relationships that align with this inner compass. View life as a heroic adventure where every moment offers meaning-making.
Habit of expecting perfection that is ruining men.
Many men today harbor rigid expectations of themselves. They believe they must excel at everything, never show vulnerability, and keep up a facade of having it all together. This need for perfectionism breeds shame, stress, and secrecy. It prevents authentic self-expression and intimacy. Trying to be flawless is the fastest way to lose touch with your humanity. When men hide their struggles and deny their full spectrum of emotions out of fear of appearing weak, they disconnect from others. This perfectionistic pressure can also lead to imposter syndrome, catastrophic thinking, and black and white perceptions. A husband refused to admit when he was hurting emotionally due to losing his job, leading to resentment and arguments with his wife. His clenched jaw stoicism made him feel isolated. How can men adopt more self-compassion? By accepting that all humans fail, make mistakes, and encounter challenges. Give yourself permission to not always win the gold medal, but still be worthy and lovable. Talk about your feelings rather than repressing them. Let go of rigid masculinity roles and be your full, imperfect self.
Habit of staying in your comfort zone that is ruining men.
The tendency to avoid risk and uncertainty is commonly holding men back. We all prefer what's familiar. But resisting trying new things stagnates personal growth. Hiding inside your bubble of comfort breeds complacency and robs you of deeper fulfillment. The shell intended to protect you can become the cage that imprisons you. By operating inside their familiar comfort zones, men restrict their experiences and self-discovery process. Without varied input to challenge their perspectives or skills, they stop flexing their growth muscles. Their lives constrict rather than expanding. A 20-year-old introvert declined social invitations from his college classmates, isolating himself in his dorm to play video games. Sheltering himself from social risks left him anxious, lonely, and depressed. How can men break out of their comfort cocoons? Start small by trying one new activity per month, even if it's uncomfortable or scary. Maintain your core values while opening up to different viewpoints and experiences. Face fears and challenges in bite-sized steps. Growth occurs beyond the boundaries of your comfort zone.
Comparing yourself to others habit that is ruining men.
The tendency to constantly measure oneself against others breeds feelings of inadequacy, jealousy, and bitterness. In the age of social media highlight reels, many men judge themselves for not being as wealthy, successful, fit, well-traveled, or attractive as those they see online or know in real life. Comparison is the killer of joy and fuel of self-judgment. This toxic habit distorts men's perceptions of themselves and sabotages their self-esteem. Getting sucked into the comparison game makes it impossible to appreciate your unique path and gifts. A recent college graduate was always envious of his peers, landing high-paying corporate jobs while he painted houses. Rather than honoring his entrepreneurial efforts, he just focused on what he lacked. How can men stop comparison obsession? Unfollow accounts on social media that breed envy. Focus on your own definition of success rather than society's narrow standards. Avoid measuring your inner worth based on external credentials. Redirect your competitive drive inward to be a better version of yourself rather than trying to best others.
Habit of suppressing emotions that is ruining men.
Many men today still feel pressured to conform to rigid masculine stereotypes of being tough, stoic, and disconnected from feelings. But suppressing emotions and vulnerably out of a distorted sense of strength breeds inner turmoil. Burying feelings does not destroy them. It merely plants the seeds for darker fruits. When men are taught that expressing fear, hurt, grief, insecurity, and other so-called weak emotions makes them less manly, they end up channeling these suppressed feelings in harmful ways. They may explode with rage, turn to substance abuse, become reckless risk-takers, or suffer declining mental health. A husband who never shed tears or admitted sadness after his dad's death developed severe anxiety and compulsive behaviors to cope with his unprocessed grief. How can men embrace healthy emotionality? By respecting emotions as fundamental to the human experience, not signs of weakness. Express feelings to trusted confidants. Let go of narrow masculinity standards and give yourself permission to be a fully feeling, vulnerable man. Create art, write, or move your body mindfully to get in touch with emotions. The toxic habits discussed in this video, including chasing validation, avoiding responsibility, giving in to fear, and suppressing emotions, are preventing men from actualizing their full potential. While modern society normalizes many of these destructive patterns, they can be unlearned with conscious effort. The first step is increasing self-awareness. Observe your daily thoughts and behaviors to pinpoint areas that need improvement. Next, replace disempowering habits with uplifting ones through consistent practice. Lean on supportive communities to reinforce positive change. You have a sacred duty to sculpt yourself into the strongest, wisest, kindest version of who you were meant to be. Now is the time to destroy what diminishes you and step into your greatness.